Hey there folks, it's Paulus here once again with Ewok. Welcome to Gear Talk number 3, today featuring Mr. Eric Morettin. Hope that you're enjoying this series so far, and let's dive right in, let's not waste any time.
All right. Well, hello to the wider YouTube audience. This is Gear Talk number 3 with Paulus, and I'm joined here by Eric Morettin. How's it going, man?
There it is. Good, man. I'm doing well. It's a nice rainy day in Vancouver, and I'm just back from my first day of going back to work in this crazy world. Yeah.
Oh, geez. Yeah, absolutely. That's a good place to start. So what's work? Like, where are you coming back from?
I am a teacher.
Ooh.
So like a little I guess sort of controversial, like in the times that we live in right now, ish. But yeah, I guess with the whole like going back to school and how some provinces the teachers are going back, in some provinces the teachers aren't. So it's interesting. Yeah, it's an interesting time to be an educator and just to be in like the education field. It's a time for history, that's for sure. It's very unique.
Absolutely. And that's fascinating. Very cool. So let me start by asking a little bit about like your musical like history, basically. Like, what have you been into? What do you work like? What's your sound? What are you all about, musically speaking?
I have a couple projects on the go. Like, I have my main band. It's called the Vilification, where it's like a Periphery meets Danza meets Architects kind of deal back in Ontario, where I'm from. And right out here in BC, like I have my own solo projects going on, just like instrumental music, kind of like in the vein of kind of whatever I feel like writing. Mostly it turns into like Misery Signals with a little bit of death metal. I mean, there's no real like specific genre. It's just a matter of whatever I'm kind of feeling. And I listen to a lot of music. I listen to a wide of music, so it's kind of like what I'm feeling at the time, realistically.
Excellent.
And I guess like going back, like I studied classical guitar for 4 years in university.
Wow.
So I like a classical guitar degree. So, I did that for a good amount of time, and that led me to my gig and teaching and everything. And that's kind of like my background in music, realistically. I go from all over the place, realistically. I don't really say no to any genres, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, from my point of view, like, it's like you have so much to express, you might as well express it in whatever medium makes sense, right? Like, artists can sculpt or they can paint, and in our case, we can play with the genres, which is really cool. Yeah. I like that, man.
Where I work too is like at an art school, and I'm very fortunate to see like all those different mediums of expression, like every day, like within like the people I work with, or even just like the students every day. It's a pretty awesome place to be a creative person.
Dude, that sounds magical. Like, to be honest with you, that sounds really great.
Yeah. I'll be totally honest. It's like the dream location to be like an artist and an educator. It's like you can't get any better working at an art school, that's for sure.
Wonderful. So we started rather just to set the pace here, when it comes to the equipment that you're using these days, when it comes to the band, like, I'm curious about this because I struggle with this. When it comes to the band versus the instrumental kind of solo stuff, like, are you changing gear for what fits what? Like, in the same way you might play a different guitar for a different genre. Like, are you, how are you thinking about that? Is it separate? Is it the same?
I don't know, man. I mean, a lot of it just starts with, I'll go with an idea, and like whatever I kind of feel like wherever the idea might go, it's like, well, I'll play it in this tune, I guess. Or even like when it comes to plugins or real amps, it's like whatever I'm feeling. I have a nice collection of guitar amps, so like I love using those as well. But sometimes it boils down to like simplicity and like, okay, I'll just throw in a neural plugin, and just like get the job done like that. Or like if I want to tone chase, for hours and just like really dive into it, which I love doing. And I'll plug in one of my heads, which is more than okay. Like, I got a couple Mesas and I got a Revv, or I can just go and use some VSDs. But like, I don't know. I mean, I'm a tube amp person, if that makes sense. Like in the digital world. But I use my tube amps with like an audio like load box, and I have the best of both worlds, I guess. So I don't know. I mean,
I agree with that, man. I think that is the best of both worlds. Totally.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like with all the amps I have, like I want to use them. So like I have my load box and I have some VSTs and like some cab sims and everything. And that's cool too. But I mean, you know, like as cliche as it is to say, like you can't beat a tube amp that's like cranked up in a room.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I miss, I used to have an Engel Powerball and I had a Revv generator 100p, and like they were great amps, man. I also had like an Engel Thunder 50, which was like their smallest tube amp.
Interesting. Yeah, that's cool.
It was great for black metal, I'll tell you that much. Very, very front, but like, wow, so much hair on that.
Yeah.
It's so like, what are the messes that you have? I'm curious.
I have a Mesa Mark V that I've had since like 2011. Then I recently, back in October, picked up a Road King version 2 for. I found it for a steal. It had a little bit of internal issues, but I managed to fix them. And, you know, like for the price I paid for it, like I basically stole the thing. And one of my good friends back in my home city, he has a band called Femur, and he's the guitarist and the vocalist of it. And he has a Mesa Road King. And every time I'd play it, you know, and even beside my Mesa Mark V, it was like, you know, like they would just do this together. The Mark series and the rectifiers are just like made for each other. And then I always knew like, oh, I guess I want a rectifier now, when I never wanted one growing up and had the chance to get one. And I said, well, if it's going to be a Road King for the price I'm paying and for what I fixed it for, like I have to do it. So
that's fair, man. That's awesome. I've had the experience with the Mesa before in terms of recording. My limited experience was in like 2009 or 10. There was a triple rec in a basement bedroom with like rugs and whatever and stuff.
That's interesting.
I was in the same room with it trying to EQ it and then like getting it to a loud enough point, and my head was getting blown off. I got a headache within 10 minutes. I like had to leave the room and like get another patch cable. It's just so loud, but it was super impressive, and I'll never forget it.
Crazy loud, right? Yeah. And like the more you turn them up, like the better they sound to a degree, you know, like you've seen all the videos of like, oh, they sound great at a certain volume. There's that sweet spot or whatever. Then beyond it is just like unbearable. But like, even that Road King in a jam space, you know, it has multi-watt or whatever. You can select whatever tubes you want. But like, you know, you put all 6 tubes on and it's pushing 135 watts. And it's like loud at 9 o'clock. It's more than loud. Like you don't need anything more. It's stupid, but you know.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I'd love to hear that in person. Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure it does.
Sure, man. And
so,
like,
go on.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, even like, you know, I have the Revv and everything. It's a fantastic amp. It's like, it's probably like the most versatile and like the least like needing of assistance from like pedals or anything to get where I want it to be, if that makes sense. Where Mesas, you got to boost them, which is cool because they become different animals.
Yeah.
But like the red channel on the Revv, which is like their version of like a rectifier versus like a real rectifier, is like, yeah, it's a more modern rectifier and it doesn't need a boost. But like there's something about the old Mesa rectifiers that is just, you can't replicate it, as weird as it is. But yeah, it's cool to have all the options, and I'm really fortunate to have the options too. And
excellent. I mean, like I think having the Revv, like I'm always a little surprised because the Revv really reminds me of the Mesa stuff, but there is something else to it, and I can't put my finger on what it is. My friend Timo has like turned me on to Revv in the first place, and it was like, how is he able to get that sound? And I wasn't getting quite that with the 100p. And anyway, I had to get rid of mine just because of whatever, but I do like that amp and the sound, and there was a lot of force to it, a lot of power to it.
Exactly. And like I had the option to get the purple or the red, and I thought, well, like for the amount of money, like difference between it, like I might as well just have both. But even then, like I've always found myself gravitating towards the red. Even at NAMM, they're always the red, and like the purple's cool, but like for what I wanted, just I guess the Revv or the red just fits what I need and what I'm going for more. Purple sounds great. Just I think I'm not really playing that style of music that it really caters to all that often, but it still sounds fantastic.
Yeah. I'm curious about the style of music. So with the band, can you reiterate what it was that the genre was and stuff?
Yeah, so like the main band that I'm doing is called the Vilification, and it's a blend of like Tony Danza tap dance meets Periphery and meets Architects and a little bit of Sick in that too. So we have like, you know, the crazy like Josh Travis tapping stuff from Danza 3, or like the gent staccato percussive elements of like Periphery, or even like Architect. Then the melody of those bands as well, and like odd time signatures of Sick. You know, they're one of our really big influences. Yeah, and like being the kind of guitar player that I am, I love guitars that like tell a story or like tell a message, rather than letting the vocalist do that too. Like, you know, I like guitar solos and I want to say something on the guitar in an expressive way, but I also want the riffs to say something too.
Totally.
And not just be like a droning percussive instrument as well as the drums, you know?
Yeah,
Cool.
I get you. It is cool. It's just, it's not it's not what it's always all about, I suppose.
Exactly. Like, instead of playing like, you know, like let's say like an F sharp, like power chord or bar chord, it's like, well, let's add some notes onto that too. Like, I got a music degree, like let's make it spicy, let's make it interesting, let's make the listener like go back and listen to that, or like want the isolated guitar tracks and they can hear what chords is this person playing. Like, this is really unique. Like, that's the stuff I really like. And you know, it's hard for me to really maybe get into new music because of, I don't know, the pigeonholedness, or just like how nothing really jumps out. Like,
I personally have a belief of having like rainy day bands, like having a good list of bands and things like that, and going through that and having that, like sitting down. It's almost like a romantic notion of like sitting down with like a cup of tea or something and like putting on the tunes and just letting it go and letting it work on you a little bit, and working on it and asking those questions of like, what do I like about this? You know, what do I dislike? And is this boring for me? Like, why isn't it stimulating? You know, no matter what, there's always learning that can be done, right?
Exactly. And I find like as a musician, or even just as an individual, like once you just stop learning, or like you have like arrested development in any kind of fashion, like that's when you stop growing. Like as a human, or even just like as a musician, like you don't want to plateau at, you know, where you currently are. Like, there's always more. And like, I'm always trying to get over that. But at the same time, it's like, it's kind of hard to really find stuff musically that I'm looking for, unless I'm not looking in the right spots.
Right.
Yeah. Like, most recently, Loathe has really like been a forefront band for me. Like, I've been listening to them a lot, or just out of metal bands, realistically, just to get inspiration.
Yeah.
That's
awesome.
Yeah. I mean, there hasn't been a ton of metal in the past while that's really like done it for me. So, I mean, you know, I go back to the roots and everything and kind of pick those apart again, or, you know, I look up to the guitar players that I like and what are they doing, and find out from there. Or for example, like going back, Rust in Peace is 30 years old, but we still play those guitar solos and we still idolize Marty Friedman. So like, must have done something right. So let's go back there and listen to what he's doing. So
absolutely. And I'm like, that's reminding me, like, and I'll ask you this question too, but my first guitar ever was a Jackson Dinky. And it was just like this like black, like bad tremolo. I still have the tremolo bar somewhere. I donated it. It needed like, my old music program got like robbed over Christmas. So I was like, take it, you know, like I wasn't using it at that point. I upgraded to an LTD, whatever, which was really, you know, some Kirk Hammett 203, I think it was. It was like the single cut.
Oh,
remember that? The Floyd was trash on it. It was terrible.
Like the really weird, oddly thin headstock. Like,
that was kind of like a tombstone.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Or like a rectangle. It's like an oddly proportioned Les Paul headstock.
Yeah, exactly. So so whenever I hear Marty, I'm like, oh yeah, and those cool like V's back in the day, and the Jackson stuff they used to have. What was your first guitar?
I got this for Christmas. It was like this Silvertone Strat copy. But then I got into guitar playing a little bit more. You know, it was like a purple Strat, three single coils, tremolo. It was cool. But then I remember jamming with this one guy, and he's like, "How do you play metal with single coils?" I'm like, "I don't know, man. This is like literally all I have." And like, I'm just trying to get into guitar. Then, ironically enough, like I ended up getting a Jackson Dinky as well, like reverse headstock, 24 fret, double humbucker, and I'm like, okay, this is probably gonna be good. And I still have that guitar, you know. I remember seeing like Slipknot in the guitar magazine, and I'm like, that looks so sick. And I was like really into Slipknot back in like when I first got into music. So I'm like, I want that guitar. And I got like the cheap model of it, and thought it was like, you know, I got the same guitar, but only like a couple differences. And Yeah, I don't know, man. Like for a $250 guitar, it was pretty substantial.
It must have been a lot of guitar. That's how I remember my Jackson too. It was like a lot of guitar for how little I paid, from what I can remember. Or yeah, it's a long time ago too.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, I still have a $250 guitar, and I put Seymour Duncan's in it, and it's still amazing. I think that holds up pretty well, you know.
Yeah,
like that says something about the brand and like the build quality for how cheap it was.
Absolutely. So this leads me to, you know, the kind of the topic of this talk, I guess, and you had mentioned LSL instruments or LSL guitars, is it?
Yeah, LSL Guitars, LSL Instruments. So yeah, they are a smaller company out of Southern California, like right outside LA. And yeah, and I'm one of their artists along with Adam from Architects. He is like the main metal guy. Then I remember it was like a conversation that happened between myself and Johnny, who's the AR guy who came from Sewer, and then now he's working with LSL. Then I think he brought Adam over as well. Then we were talking online, then, you know, one thing led to another, and there I am just playing their guitars, and like,
it's wonderful.
I guess being called an artist as well with the brand, which was like pretty cool, you know, actually, like from like a child being like, oh man, that'd be cool to be like sponsored or whatever, or like be with a brand, and like there's that milestone checked off. So yeah.
Yeah, man. Is this recent for you?
Very cool guitars. This is like 2017. Yes, 2017.
Wonderful.
That's, I mean, like, that happened. Yeah,
that's wicked. So what are some of the, like, let's talk about it. What are some of the models that you've do you have? I assume you've got a couple from a picture I saw.
I have two. I got two of them right now. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, if you want, I can describe them and throw on cam if you want. Yeah,
I'd love to see them. Yeah.
So we'll go one by one. So this is the first one.
Oh boy.
So this is like the one I usually like put on like social media and everything.
Ooh, that's hot.
Yeah, you get a close up of that.
Oh, very nice. I love how they did the logo with the gold and the black.
Yeah, they did it really well, and you could tell like nice figuring on the top there. That's actually a flamed ash top.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I mean, so once my guy Johnny was like, yeah, do you want flamed ash on the top? I'm like, well, I don't think I'll ever get this chance again, so sure. So yeah.
Yeah, man.
Then a roasted maple neck, stainless steel frets. Like, you know, I've heard people say, well, they just look like Sewers, or it's like a Kiesel or like an Ibanez. I'm like, sure, think what you will, but I mean, like, you know, every guitar, you know, does their own thing, and I think these guys do it extremely well. They kind of blend that vintage modern. You know, you can see it. You got the skunk stripe on the back and everything.
That's hot, man. That's super hot.
Bone nut, but like, you know, the modern like high access up here, roasted neck and stainless steel frets, et cetera, et cetera. And yeah, they do everything. They do a lot of vintage stuff, and they do like this, like modern and the in-between stuff, a lot of high relic stuff as well. It's very cool, very unique brand. They do, you know, for a small company, they do a lot of really cool things, and I know they're starting to experiment with extended range stuff as well with that Cerberus guitars, and in collaboration with Guitar Marie pickups. So
very cool.
Yeah, so I mean, they're dabbling with that a little bit. I know, like with this whole world pandemic going on, things have kind of slowed down for that, but like, yeah, I'm very excited for those, since those are like definitely going to be some unique guitars.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I love that. I love the maple. Sorry, just to interject. I love that there's roasted maple going on. That's one of my favorite feelings of a wood neck guitar, and it does remind me of a Sur, only because the last Sur I played had a roasted. You know what I mean? Like that's the last time that I played one. That's wicked. And it must sound amazing with stainless steel.
It sounds awesome. Yeah, it's a very bright and snappy guitar, but like it has a swamp ash body, then an ash top, then a maple neck and fingerboard. So like it's super bright.
Yeah.
But it's very clear. It's a very clear guitar, and it's very well balanced. It's a very well balanced guitar. Yeah, and you can tell like where maybe the finish is inspired from. I love Pantera.
I see. Yeah.
so it's kind of like a nod there. So, but I mean, but yeah, I mean, you can do anything with this guitar or with these guitars. Like, it's not like like let's say a Jackson or maybe an LTD or an ESP where you kind of see them more towards the hard rock or the metal scene. But like, you can kind of do this with anything. It's just like, it's a nice guitar. And honestly, a nice guitar that can do a lot of things. It's kind of what I'm after these days, realistically.
When you want more options and stuff out of your instruments, that just makes a lot of sense. And I love that there's like the bridge and everything. Like, it just seems really, it's very nicely put together. From the tiny box I can see of it, it looks awesome.
Yeah.
And I do remember checking them out. I think, or passing them by at NAMM and being like, "Ooh, I want to spend some time at this booth," but then never getting the opportunity because running around like a maniac.
The joys of NAMM, and you're saying hi to everyone, right? It's like the internet in real life.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's just nonstop. that was the feeling. Last time, especially. I don't know about you, man, but for me, it was like I could not stop. I just had to keep on. 15 minutes.
Yeah, even the group I was with, it was like, all right, we got to go see this booth. We got to go see this person at this booth because I'm doing this, or because we were with Andrew Baena, and he's like, oh, Andrew's got to do this, or our buddy has to go do this, like nonstop. Awesome, but it's tiring at the end of the day.
Absolutely, it's exhausting.
Yeah, 100%. Wouldn't change it for the world, though.
Oh yeah, definitely. So let's see this other one. I'm curious. Like, I wonder, because this one has so many different genre capabilities. I'm curious about the next one, considering what you want on your instrument.
This one is the Adam Christensen, actually, the Architect's signature. Doesn't have pickups right now. Just waiting on some new ones, but yeah, this is the Architect's guitar, and it's a Baritone Telecaster, so it's super sick. And I don't know how great you can see it in the camera, but it's actually relicking too.
Ooh!
So I ordered it relicking from the factory, which you can do. You can do like a light relicking, which is on here, or you can do like the super like thrown around, like drag behind a truck kind of relicking, which is
right.
And that's cool, but I mean, yeah, I'd probably like to do that myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, same deal. Swamp ash body, ebony board, roasted neck, big block inlays. And this was kind of like I kind of wanted to make this like a sleeper guitar almost. Like, it looks like an old school Telecaster and 2 humbuckers with the big block inlays, but, this is tuned to like drop G.
Yeah. How long is that scale length? Oh my God.
It's 27 and a half.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. That's really cool.
But believe it or not, like, it's pretty comfy once you get used to it, The action came a little like medium to high, so I dropped it down, and with the awkward stretches on the lower section of the neck, like, you get used to that, but like, honestly, soloing's totally fine, and it's still comfy up at like the 24th fret, and it sounds amazing.
That's awesome. These are both instruments that I've got to hear in person at some point, dude. Like, I'm stoked. That looks so awesome.
It's super sick, man. Like, and it handles the low tunings like so well, because I used this for a video Andrew and I did back in the summer, and we had this down to drop G with like a 56 gauge on it.
Wow.
And it held up super well. And I mean, even Johnny, the AR guy, was just like, how low did he have that thing? And like, what strings do you have on it? It's like, it's a 56 in G, Even like the Pantera cover I did with sandblasted skin and drop G, it's 56 tuned down, and it sounded amazing.
That's so cool. You wouldn't think,
very
right?
Unique sound.
Yeah, you wouldn't think that a 56 would work. Wow.
Yeah, you can get away with it with the long scale. I mean, sure, like, it feels floppy, but at the same time, like, it holds, and just depending on the way you pick, you can make it really work.
Yeah.
Especially with like, the Telecaster body, or just like the low and like the long scale and everything, like the amount of wood on both ends of it, like, it is a really unique sound, especially when you're tuning that low with that light of a string, and this the way you pick, it's unique.
Yeah, so it's really responsive to dynamics. So then the question I have for you is like, what's the pickups? What are you going to put in there?
I actually have a Seymour Duncan. It's like a 59 reverse polarity pickup that's going to go on the neck. Yeah, it's very cool. It's a very cool pickup. It came from another guitar of mine. when I swap the pickups, and I have a black winter for the bridge coming.
Excellent, excellent. That's gonna be so cool.
Yeah.
I want to hear the
It's
clips of
gonna
that
be
too.
I initially had like the original pickups, but they were fairly low output and a little bit low to mid heavy in the tonal characteristics. Sounded great for like classic rock, you know, but definitely not the most ideal for what I was doing. So they sounded good, but like I think it needs something with a bit more juice. And
yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
Yeah,
There's a certain other guitar I'm looking at over in this
Yeah,
corner.
so I pulled them out and just like put a few new pick. I'm gonna put a few new pickups in. But yeah, otherwise, like if I was doing like something that was a little like, let's say, scaled back, those pickups would have been great, and they did sound great in this. Just not the right tonal spectrum. If that makes sense.
Yeah, man,
It was
absolutely.
totally cool.
So
And
oh, go on.
I was gonna say, you got you're playing those Aristides, right?
I sure am. Yeah, yeah. And I just spent all day fixing up the pink one I have. I bought a bunch of upgrades for the Floyd Rose and
Nice.
like a bunch of titanium replacement parts, basically.
That's cool.
They're purple, and it suits the aesthetic really nicely. I'm really excited.
So
the video is going to be me being really frustrated for the second half, just because of the fact that it would not hold tune properly. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong? And I realized that there were some discrepancies between the gauges. I thought I had the same strings, same string gauges.
Gotcha.
But I think my D string and was a little bit thicker, and my G string was a little bit thicker because it is playing a touch differently than it was.
Gotcha.
So, so I've compensated for that, and I was like really frustrated. But now it's all working, and it sounds awesome. Yeah, I love that guitar.
That's tight, man. Yeah, I've always liked those, especially at NAMM. Like those are one of the few brands that I actually really look forward to playing every NAMM, because it's always a treat to play them.
I love it, man.
There's no Aristides dealer anywhere, so I mean, like whenever you get the chance, like you just gotta play them, right? Yeah, super sick.
What were you saying at the end there? Sorry, I missed.
Oh, just saying that's super sick. You know, those guitars, yeah. Even those tellies that they released this year. Yeah.
The tellies are so cool. Yeah. The TO, it's called. It's crazy. I've had ideas for a spec of one. I could not do it. I was a phone call away from doing it with Pascal, and you know, like I was thinking about it, I was humming and hawing, and finally, if you're humming and hawing about it, like don't do it. You know, ultimately, right? That's basically the conclusion. But there are some new things coming out with them that I'm really looking forward to that I can't exactly talk about just yet. That isn't really super public domain yet. So that'll come out in a while. I will say later in the year there will be something fresh. That's all. That's probably the most that
I've been hearing as well, but I'm excited for it.
All I can say is that I'm extremely excited for it. There's one really cool detail, and I'll talk to you about that maybe another time about that, because it's really cool. But anyway, they're great, and the raw colors that have been coming out are really fun. But then seeing a baritone Telecaster like yours is actually really cool, and makes me wish that they were also doing that. They're definitely not, even though at the same time, like, beggars can't be choosers. The TO right now has the most options of any model. So it's really good, like cool for them. You can get an Evertune, you can get like 3 or 4 different bridges. It's kind of ridiculous, right? So that's really cool.
Even playing them at NAMM, it was like, that was one of the guitars that I wanted to walk home with, but I knew I probably shouldn't. But like, especially that pink one, that was really something else.
Yeah, man. Oh, there was like a butterscotch looking one. There was a green one and the pink one. And I think I wanted the pickups of the green one, but in the butterscotch one, because I really like that. All right, so back in action, because this platform sometimes is buggy, it seems. We were talking about Telecasters. That's what we were just talking about, right? I'm excited to hear how it sounds. So speaking of sounds and stuff, when it comes to the Vilification, is there like an EP coming out soon? Like, are you guys working on stuff actively? Because you're living in BC, aren't you? Or
we're actually kind of spread out over most of the country, as weird as it. We're all from Thunder Bay, but then I moved to BC for the job and to kind of pursue music even more. Then our drummer from Thunder Bay, he moved to Montreal to pursue a master's in music.
Wow.
Yeah, through one of the universities there. Then our bassist and our singer, they're still in Thunder Bay.
Wow.
So, yeah, so we're kind of spread out a little all over. And, you know, our singer being a computer programmer, he's kind of tied to his job. There's not a lot of leeway with him right now.
Right. Oof.
So especially with everything being online, he's like, I'm working more than ever now. So he almost has like no time to give,
Wow.
which is unfortunate, but.
Definitely, but if it's a passion too, that makes a lot of sense. So
exactly.
Is there more music coming out? Or go on, yeah.
Yeah, we do have some new music coming out. We have our most recent EP, which is like 2018, which is all on Bandcamp. Pretty sure you can get it for free. Then it's just a Vilification, like at Bandcamp or whatever. Then we have a new album coming out. That's going to be the debut full length. We're just kind of waiting for, at this point, all this to kind of end so we can all be like more or less in the same room, or at least sort of, and record. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
We're doing everything out of one studio, and it's a matter of like going back in and recording and all that, and just like getting people to kind of go do it.
Right. And so does that mean you're using like live drums for an example?
Yeah, we're doing live drums.
Wicked.
Yeah.
I immediately am excited immediately.
Yeah, like I'll be honest, like it's blended. Like we have live performances, but like if you need to have like a snare, like EQ or whatever, or like replace, like we got a snare sample and everything but it is a mix. But it is a full like real live drummer with a kit that's mic and everything.
Wonderful.
And like that's one thing I really like to make clear, like with our producer that we work with. His name's Mark out of Decibel Audio in Thunder Bay, and is like, we need like real drums, we need a real performance. Don't want like computer drums, because we've had them before on a release back in like 2015, and it was fine, but like you can totally tell. Right. Even everything I do and I release, it's all Superior drummer, because I don't have access to a drum kit, or I really don't have a drummer at my disposal.
Yeah, and the other thing is like now you're paying for like it just gets more and more costly, and it's a vicious circle basically.
Exactly. It's like, well, I play drums and I've been playing for around 10 years. Like I could do it, but like, okay, let me buy a kit for out here, or rent one, then book studio time. Like I just don't have, there's no like capacity for that with what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, that's totally fair too. That's the thing is we're in that age now where it's like, Superior drummer is amazing for pre-pro. I'll say that much, right? Like, it's nothing else. It's great for pre-pro.
Exactly. I mean, like, what's your hot take on that? Like, it seems like you like live drummers as well, but do you not mind a little bit of sampling as well if it aids the overall production or aids the sound?
I mean, like, I've had to reel in all the perfectionism that I have as a musician, as a guitar player, as is. So when I did that, I seemed to reel it in for everything else. So when I say that, I mean, like, I do really enjoy live drummers. And part of me is like, I totally want to give work to drummers who I love. And I would pay them for their work. It's just a matter of, like, I can't monetarily do that. So I'm going to use the best tools at my disposal that I can afford that make sense for me. And then I'm going to do that one day, basically. Like, no matter what, I will get there. I know that I will. But until then, I'm going to do what I need to do. And I always run my pre-pros through my drummer filter. I have you know Barry Singleton, don't you?
Yeah, we're tight.
So that's the guy. That's the, and he'll usually tell me if it's trash or not. So I mean, I'm good, as far as I'm concerned.
Exactly.
And I think that's the most succinct way, I think, to answer that question. Is I think that's the best way forward for now, right? Like,
exactly. It's like whatever works to get the job done most effectively.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even like I find with guitar performances too, like when you're recording as well, like do we want to go down and tune every note, which can work depending on what you're doing. Like if you're doing a clean passage, and because every note on the fretboard isn't in tune, and like sure, if you want to tune those notes, go for it. Or do you want to capture like that raw performance? It's like such a fine line. Like I don't know, like distortion guitar, like if I'm trying to do a riff, like I'll capture the feel as tight as I can to a metronome, but I'm not really going to go down and grid align it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm not really for that way of doing things. I've seen, I'm cool with like taking it and taking it and taking it. But I really love practicing music like the whole 5 minutes way through, basically, and then doing it again and doing it again. And wherever there's that moment of like, I don't know, man, then I'll like go back, and I'll do some extra takes or whatever. But yeah, it's not like, it's not, yeah, I don't really like the quantized guitar player sound, even though there's some super successful musicians doing it like that. They can also back it up playing it live. So like, who's to say, and like,
it's like, does it just achieve the sound you're going for at the end of the day?
Yeah, exactly.
Like even within all that solo guitar player stuff, or like that guitar focused music, there's only so much I can listen to within like, certain bands having that really hyper edited sound, like that maybe it sounds like they recorded like note per note for a certain riff just for that sound. But I don't know, I'm just not really into that. The song itself and like the music is great, but just I think the way maybe it was produced isn't up my alley.
Yeah, and so it's so interesting to me because there's so much love for like under not as produced, I suppose, music. Right. And I come back to like scary bands that push my boundaries in terms of like, ooh, this is hard to listen to. So I listen to the scary avant-garde black metal or whatever it is, and just like, what's happening, Well, my mind is rebelling at this low gain guitar tone with crazy frantic drums and weird time signatures and vocals that sound truly scary. Wow, what a concept. Definitely not modern prog, right?
Yeah, it's even listening to can't remember when the album was released, but I think it was that Brought to the Water by Deafheaven. Like their second, the one after Sunbather. Okay. And I remember hearing that album and the one I'm talking about were live off the floor albums, and just listening to it, like they're so imperfect in their own ways, but it just makes the music so unique and just so beautiful in that way. Like I love hearing those imperfections because it's like, not to be all like old school or like jaded, but it's like, like it's what it's all about. Or even like bands like Daughters, for example, doing it live off the floor, or like really capturing that emotion. Like, that's what I really like.
And that's a total fair enough. I feel like things are going that way anyways. And I love the fact that we have, we've got the technology to quantize the hell out of everything and like pitch correct and do all of that. So, but we also have beautiful technology to just capture natural performance, which is like where things have been really going, I think, a lot of the ways. So like, that's what gets me excited about plugins, and that's what gets me excited about like microphones that are coming out, or like, all that stuff is like, oh, it's interesting. It's a little bit of nerdery, but it's so good. Yeah.
Exactly. Or even like, I'll plug into each of my amps that I have, and like I'll play differently through all of them because they all respond in a different way.
Yeah, and that makes sense.
Even through a load box into an interface and a cab sim, like they're all gonna feel a little different, and that's the beauty of it. Because the tube, and like, do you have 6L6 or EL34? What kind of preamp tubes do you have? What brand did you have in like a certain spot of preamp section? Like, it all makes such a weird small difference, but it's so fun at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I mean, it all comes back to like, I kind of equate it to like grocery stores. It's organic. It's grass fed, man. That's what it feels like. It's like, oh, this is wicked.
Yeah, if you're not playing grass-fed tube amps, just get out of here, right? Like,
Ooh. No, but it's like there's something to it for sure. And so I saw in a video. So obviously, Andrew Baena. I'm curious about the connection and how you know each other.
So I've known of Andrew like for a while now, just like watching his YouTube videos. Then I moved out to the Vancouver area in 2018. Then linked up with some of my friends that I've met through gigging over the years. Like my band had opened for their band when they'd rolled through my home city of Thunder Bay, and we've made relationships since then. Then I remember when we were going to NAMM in 2019, the group I was with, we were going with Andrew and Johnny Chardulo. So then, we all met at the airport, and it was like 6 a.m. I'm like, hey, man, my name's Eric, and like, Andrew's like, hey, we could both tell like we didn't want to be up this early. So the first thing was like going through customs and like actually hanging out at NAMM together realistically, then like exchanging information afterwards, and like, hey, we should collab on something. Then we did like an Amir cover, then did the Art is Murder riff evolution, then a couple covers since then, riff evolutions, and I think we got another one in the works. I was just at his place yesterday, and
Oh, sick.
he gave me a couple pedals to try. So I'm going to try the Overdrive pedals with the amps just to see if I want to, get into the quarantine boredom and buy some more pedals or whatever. We got another thing coming out, which will be fun. Yeah. And that's pretty much how it's been, like, ever since. He's a really great person to work with, great musician and great content creator, and he's just a great friend at the end of the day. Both him and Johnny, great dudes. 100%.
Absolutely, they're the boys, man. That's what it is. It's there's like a community of I don't know, heavy musicians. I don't know what to call it at this point, right? That seems to be growing ever perpetually. And
it's
there
like
was
you have those staple musicians, like in that, if you want to say, internet community, right?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, even beyond that, it seems like the Vancouver, like Lower Mainland kind of GVRD, let's say, plus now Victoria because of Mike and Courtney from Spiritbox, I would say, right? So like we used to host what we would call like the real summer NAMM, right? And so a few friends would rent a large practice space basically here in Vancouver, a place called Soundhouse Studios. And I think the last time that we did it, Andrew brought his 10-string and we all like reacted to it. That was a good video. It was so ridiculous. Sweet. Matt and I were looking at each other like half the time, like, oh my God. What is going on here? Oh, and when Mike picked it up, we all like were floored because Mike has got the right hand of God, right? Like he can destroy any string. Oh man.
Yeah, I know our buddy, a mutual friend of ours that we are in our NAMM group with. His name's Bill, and he's an Aristides guy, and he's always like, yeah, Mike has like the right hand of like an overdrive pedal, or his hand is an overdrive pedal. It's just crazy.
That's a really great analogy. Oh man, yeah, Bill is a great guy too. So I'm alluding to this this time because it would be really great to do that again at some point.
Yeah.
Past COVID, whenever that is going to be, kind of thing.
Exactly.
People are only going to get busier and busier and tour and do all these big projects and things. But it's good to have that that meetup, and it would be awesome to have you there too, man. It would be a good time.
It would be wicked. I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, I guess with this whole thing going on, like, there might be a point where we have to live with the ailments going on, I think.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I don't want to play it down to being like the common cold or anything, but being an airborne disease, like we might have to live our daily lives with it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a strange thing.
Heard a lot of people, I just heard a lot of people alluding to that, and I can see it, but who knows, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's weird, but you can only hope it'll end soon and things will get back to whatever normal used to be, right?
Well, I mean, normal was weird before, and a lot of musicians are pissed off about normal in the first place, right? They're like, normal was bad, man. What do you know? But then I see this situation that Mike and Courtney, the Spiritbox went through rather, with their tour, and about to play all these sold out gigs or whatever. They were like very close to selling out or sold out in the UK and having to come home.
Exactly.
Like, that's so traumatic. I can only imagine.
And you see a lot of musicians online and like the gear pages on Facebook, and you're like, yep, we got a lot of downtime now, so I'm doing recordings and like, or like I'm doing reamping. Like, yeah, I feel you, man. Like, that's tough, when your band is like your main income source. Like, that's hard. I feel for them big time.
And I think what's interesting is that they've started up that Patreon, and a lot of the time bands have been doing this stuff, and it's been a little bit like, oh, you get to like play video games with the band and stuff, and it doesn't seem to be like, it's not I don't think it has to be earth shattering. And I spoke with another friend of mine about this. It doesn't need to be like amazing content, but to try to do something a little bit more special for the fans as they're like paying more way through this virus is like a nice thing to do. So to see Spiritbox put out some really cool stuff as a fan, let alone the friendship with Mike, as a fan, it's like, that's really cool. I'm all about it.
Yeah, and anything that you could do, like, I think as a musician these days, to keep yourself going, or like stimulating some sort of income from like various different capacities, like that's the way to do it these days. I mean, like, I think like learning that from like the Periphery guys, or at least Misha, how he has like his strings and the pedals and the guitars, and like doing all these different services. But I mean, I think that's how you have to do it to be a self-sustainable musician. You got to really spread yourself in different capacities. Just how we were talking, like, you know, we probably track our own bass, we do our own drums, you know, we do everything very DIY.
Mm-hmm.
And we probably do a lot of the mixing and maybe the final like mastering or editing ourselves too, because that's what you have to do in this day and age. You got to really learn a lot of skills on your own.
Absolutely. We wear a lot of hats as musicians. That's what
Exactly.
I'm just closing my notes here. That's what we do for sure. And it's a strange thing to have to like sit down and go and learn all those different things. I think for me, videography was a really big thing, and photos and things like that. But ultimately it comes back to like, well, you know, I'm enjoying what I'm doing. And I think, you know, if you can say that at the end of the day, you're winning it. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly. And if you like, no matter what you do, if you're winning at it, then you've kind of figured it out, like what you're doing, that makes you happy. And it's kind of the goal at the end of the day. It's like you wake up and you want to do those things. Like, even though I was like online for the past couple months, you know, with all this after spring break, like I still woke up like saying, yeah, this is kind of what I want to do, you know, like in terms of teaching. Everything before that, you know, wake up and this is what I want to do. And I still have time to do music and in a large capacity. And like, well, I think life's kind of awesome right now, you know, for as like negative as, you know, the world can be at times. Like, you got to find those little like highlights and those little victories and like cherish them, right? You know, glass is always half full, or like the grass is greener when you water it.
That's a great way. I love that. I love that the grass is greener when you water it. That is a great saying, man. I love that a lot. That's really powerful. I feel like as you know, as this is like it's like a video cast about equipment typically, right? It almost feels trivial to talk about it, of course, when things are happening south of the border, for example, that are just so devastating and traumatic. But at the same time, there is a place for this kind of discussion, because it's a safe thing. You know, like I'm sure that you're an individual as well as I am, that we acknowledge, you know, how privilege plays a role in our lives.
100%.
At the same time, there is a point to create things, I think. And as musicians, you know, in the first place, it's so important to create things. So despite all the, you know, extreme things going down there, I feel like hopefully this will also build into some nice, you know, hopefully there will be some positivity, some good resolution, some art that gets made. Well. Yeah.
I mean, I think as Frank Zappa said, you know, art is just like social commentary. So whether we're receiving art in the moment or in the aftermath, I think there is always going to be a place for the arts and just for art in general to talk about the times that we've lived in or that we're living through.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That leads me to further big questions. Which we can, you know, so obviously we can talk about this in more detail as well. Perhaps another time. It would be great to do this again with you, honestly, and hopefully in person with mics and without Zoom. Yeah.
One of these days.
But yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've met only a couple of times before this chat, I think, in the first place, and it was.
I think like just through NAMM, through like the local Vancouver shows and everything.
Yeah, and that's been the most of it. But it's been a pleasure to talk with you for this time.
It's been great times, man.
Well, all right. So where can people find your band and whatnot?
People can find my band, Vilification, on Facebook. So just the Vilification. You can find us on Bandcamp, just bandcamp/the.vilification. You can find me on Instagram at ERC_MRTN. And I'm sure I'll send you all the links for that. Then, you know, I got the YouTube channel. If you just search my name, Eric Morettin, it'll pop up there. And then I got covers and some originals on there. And my Bandcamp is just Eric.Morettin. And that's where you can find everything that I do, realistically.
Awesome. And for people not to forget to check out LSL instruments, because they look really cool. They look awesome.
Instagram's gonna be the best place for LSL Guitars, and same with Revv amps. I know they're really pushing Instagram. It's the easiest way to put content out there, realistically.
Yeah, at this point it is. It's the best. Well,
yeah. Instagram for LSL and Revv. Those are like the two there.
Excellent. Well, all right, man. I'm thinking we're gonna call that the session. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I'm going
Been a
to
pleasure. Thanks
stop
for
the
having me.
recording button. Yeah, man. Absolutely.
Killer.
All right. I'll catch you later.
Cheers, dude.